Let me ask you something. Are you having a hard time with your procurement process? Are you struggling to find the right suppliers? Is negotiating time consuming and tedious? Are your materials showing up late, causing project delays? If you answered yes to any of these questions, I have the solution for you. CBUSA. CBUSA is the leading construction group purchasing organization, and they're making all these pain points a thing of the past. Soon, top builders in Minneapolis will have the opportunity to use CBUSA as their procurement partner. Minneapolis isn't the only market, though. Go to cbusa.us/learn to see if there's an established or upcoming chapter near you. That's cbusa.us/learn. Additionally, episode number 26 has an interview with Ryan Lipchek from CBUSA for more. Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today is Thursday, which means it's question and answer. So, this question is a good one, and I think we'll probably devote the entire episode just to this question. And the question was on high end homes between design and build, it can last between 1 to 3 years. How do you keep the clients happy during the build and finish on a high note? This is a whopper of a question, and I think it might take an entire career to get everything ironed out. So maybe I'll just share some experiences that I've had in the past, some things I've learned, a few things that I've done poorly, and kind of even check into where I'm at now. Maybe I'll start where I'm at now. Actually, I'm devoting resources right now to map out an entire client experience path. And so I've done 2 meetings with my team about this, and we actually even hired a consultant to sit in and kind of ask us, um, questions outside the industry because I think building, oddly enough, for how emotional it is. I've spoken about that a lot on the podcast. I know I for myself has not spent enough time thinking about the client experience. I'm very interested in, building an incredible home. I'm really interested in cabinetry and painting and architects and design and all these amazing things. And you need to do that. I mean, you could, you can have the best client experience of all time and have a bad product. And ultimately that will reflect poorly on the experience. You can also have an amazing experience, or sorry, an amazing product and have terrible client service. And, people keep coming back because your product is so amazing. And how great would it be if you were the best at both? And I'm kind of ashamed to say that it's taken me about 17 to 18 years to really hit a timeout and think, what is my client experiencing? What are they thinking about? Because like so many business owners, we're thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about our craft. We're thinking about our home, our architect. What do we think people would like? But I have not spent enough time thinking about how the client feels. And that's probably been a detriment to myself. I'm embarrassed that I haven't thought about it sooner. But I'm certainly thinking about a lot now. And some of that has to do with even books you're reading. I've spoken about it on the podcast before as well. But I just read, oh, um, hospitality book. I'm blanking on the name of it all of a sudden. Finished it a month or two. Unreasonable Hospitality, and it was all about how to treat people in the restaurant scene. And I feel like right now, a lot of the book tapes and a lot of the podcasts that I'm listening to are outside building because I think that having an injection of some creativity and some what other industries that I feel are very successful at this, I want to adopt them and bring it into building. So right now, I've kind of charted out the beginning from the first 15-minute phone call. And I do this first 15-minute phone call for me. I'm trying to be brief and really to the point. I want to respect people's time, but I also want to get to the brass tacks quite quickly. Are they a good fit? Are they tire kickers? Do they just need some direction? Are they serious? And I want to identify my client as early as possible. I think one of the ways that we can identify our ideal client is just asking straight questions. I think early on in my career, you'd chase kind of everything like a dog down the street. You'd chase every ball bouncing down the street, you get hit by a car. But if you can be a little bit more thoughtful in that first interview, and I'm not saying you judge a book by its outside cover, but I think asking pretty direct questions, I think it also sets the stage for the client. Like this person is a business owner, like they get it, like they know what they want. It's a little bit like going to a doctor. They're asking you pretty straight questions. You have to answer those questions. If you are unwilling to answer those questions, you're probably not a good fit for that builder or the doctor in this analogy. So honestly, the client experience starts with clear communication for me. I think one of the things that's important to me is branding. So the website, Instagram, I want that all to represent our brand, our build, what we care about, what we do. So a lot of the clients that are reaching out to us are sort of already been pre-qualified by the branding and the marketing that we're putting out there. That honestly is where client experience starts. They get a sense of who you are, who your team is, what your home is, and I think that translates. It doesn't always have to be words, but I think when you really care about what you do and you care about the people who work on the projects with you, I think clients get the sense that you're going to care about them too. And I said earlier, even in this episode, that I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I think a good client experience honestly comes down to just one thing. I think it's caring, it's integrity, it's caring about them as people. And so for that standpoint, I'm sure I've done a, okay job of that over the years because I do care about people, but I haven't been very thoughtful and intentional about it because I think sometimes it'd be, I think, analogous to having raw talent versus like working on it. I'm sure Michael Jordan, as we all know, is probably one of the best basketball players ever. But he worked tirelessly on his jump shot, on his free throw. I heard a stat recently that he would end every practice and start every practice with like 100 free throws. But it wasn't that he couldn't shoot, but that was he was very into his routine. And so I think even if we're very talented at thinking about other people, and if we're very talented at our craft, we can always spend more time sort of being intentional about it. So anyway, you've got the 15-minute phone call. I do a 1 hour meeting with my client after that, really giving them time, really understanding who they are. Often give them a client gift bag. For me, I just love merch and I love giving away things to people. I love seeing, their face light up. I also like really expensive things. So I tend to give them really nice things. To me, it might be a Hydro Flask water bottle, a canvas bag that doesn't ever go bad. I have clients who've brought their bags back after a decade and like, we still use this for groceries or for the kids' swimsuit. So something that's meaningful, something that represents your brand as well. So to me, I spend a lot of time, mainly it's things that I like, and so it's an extension of myself and my company going back to brand. Once you go through the design phase, I think a lot of it, the design is really the emotional high to me. I love the design phase. We're interviewing the architect, we're interviewing the interior designers. You start getting into it, everyone's dreaming big and it's really exciting. So there's not much you need to do from a client experience standpoint other than be present and be active because that is really a natural high. It'd be like kids opening up their presents on Christmas. Like it's an exciting time. You don't have to try that hard for it to be exciting. It just is exciting. And then I think once you're under contract, which obviously is the less exciting time talking about pricing, but you can be humorous about it and you can just be very sensitive. I often will tell people, like, I don't need an answer from you today. Like, I'm going to have this meeting with you on a Thursday or Friday so that you have the weekend to sort of decompress, take some time to think about it. These are big monetary decisions, and let's have this meeting set up already for the following week and talk about it. So I think letting the client know that you realize what they're going through is a big purchase. It's very expensive. There's a lot of emotion into it, and I think too often we get so comfortable with how things cost and what they are that sometimes we can become detached with how they might perceive it, or we might get detached of what their perception is. And I think this also goes back to that first 15-minute phone call. If you've sort of been prepping them for costs, if you've been prepping them during design and architecture, kind of just planting little seeds of what things are and what they're going to go, and just being really honest with people, that makes them feel more comfortable because I guarantee people are not going to move forward and build a house if they don't feel comfortable. Once you get past that, for us, I have found in the past, we used to meet, whenever clients wanted to meet. We used to maybe not meet as often as we'd wait for them to initiate with us, which is a big no-no. Now, today, where I'm at is we keep a bi-weekly meeting going on with our clients. So I typically like Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and I usually like mornings. So we'll usually pick like 9:30 to 10:30, and we'll just have it on our calendars for the entire build. So it's kind of funny because I joke with the clients that I'll send them a calendar invite, and I'll put never in for an end date. So it'll fill up their schedule for the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And it's just that time is protected both on my calendar and their calendar. And for me personally, not every company has to do this, but I'm really showing them that like this is a commitment both ways. This is why we spent so much time in the front end, making sure that they were a good fit for us and that they felt they were good with us, because it's no joke to meet with someone every 2 weeks for years is a big commitment. And it should be enjoyable. It doesn't mean that there won't be challenges. And then I also try to respect their time too. I will try not to bother them with questions or a bunch of random emails. I'll try to save up a week's worth of, content and then give it to them in a nice presentation, a nice agenda, for that meeting. So we can be very methodical about it. And then whatever we don't address gets moved to the next meeting. I have found this, I wish I had done this earlier in my career. This is really, really helpful. I think you can see that clients also relax. For a long time in my career, we would show up and we would just ask the client, so what's on your mind? Which I think is fine. But I think if someone isn't demonstrating order, if someone isn't demonstrating a clear plan, even though we obviously know how to build a home, we know what we're doing. I think just showing them a clear, like that process, that path, you can see them visibly react when you hand them the agenda, for the day, and if you can, send it to them the day before, the night before, so they get a chance to look at it. Some people are better at speaking off the cuff, and some need a little time to think about it. And so I think understanding who your client is really, really important. So those biweekly meetings have been amazing. Our clients have loved them. And then also telling the client that, we can cancel the meeting if we don't need to meet. I don't think there's a lot of value in just meeting to meet. And so earlier on in the project, you of course meet a lot more often. Towards the middle, I would say the middle of the project and the 3/4 part, you meet less often. Painting might take a month, month and a half. You've already picked the paint colors. A lot of the orders are already happening or have already happened. So we're just executing on it. Maybe we are at I think trim phase is always fun. So pretty much everyone always wants to go out and see the cabinets and the trim going in. But drywall is not super sexy. Maybe it's 2 to 3 weeks of drywall, depending how big the house is. And, typically people don't want to walk around when people are sanding, that dust is in the air. So I think just checking in and aligning your schedules with people. And then, we ask our project managers to send out a Friday recap. So we use Builder Trend for all our scheduling, our change orders, our documentation, our photos. I think that's really important too. We take photos every time we're on the job site, post them to Builder Trend, and the client gets notified. They can pop in there, see all their site photos from their PM. They can add photos if they want. It's also a great way for them at the end of the job. They can download all the photos and kind of see a time lapse of their entire home in photos. They may not, at the time, they may be so busy thinking about making the selections on granite or quartz countertops or tile or whatever they're picking out. But at the end, to realize they can look back and have every single picture on their home, I think it's a little bit like I have young kids. It's taking pictures of your kids in the moment, and then a couple years later, you look back and you're like, oh man, I remember that moment. That was great. So there is some nostalgia about that. It also allows them to share. Additionally, it's super helpful, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. If they're doing a remodel on their home or they sell the home to somebody, they can give them all those pictures that they had. And a future remodeler or us, if we're still around, we can look and say, hey, that wall had a bunch of speakers in it, or there's a bunch of wires here, and is very helpful for essentially future proofing the house in terms of, remodeling information versus, opening up a wall and wondering what's there. So I think those photos and those Friday recaps. So every Friday, it doesn't have to be a lot. And our PM will just enter in a little daily log note and just say, hey, this week, we had drywall on the schedule. You probably saw that. We had one day where we had another job going. They had to pull off for a half day. Or we had some issue come up and this is how we dealt with it. And then we also have a look forward. So next week we have a meeting with the landscaper. And so really it's just kind of a weekly report card. I think our clients probably, I would have to imagine they like that more than anything. It's just a nice little pulse check, especially if you have a client that is out of towner. Oh man, these weekly updates are extremely, extremely helpful.
Lake Society magazine is Minneapolis' premier target market boutique lifestyle and design publication. It embodies the unique lifestyles and design of the Minneapolis City Lakes neighborhoods. From Lake of the Isles to Lake Harriet, it showcases the best in local design projects by both premier builders, architects, and interior designers in this area. Lake Society magazine has the look and feel of a national publication with glossy covers, high-end finishes. It's mailed directly to upper bracket single-family homeowners in the City Lakes area, and it's the perfect local coffee tabletop publication. Subscriptions can also be available through the website lakesocietymagazine.com. Additionally, publisher and founder Karen Steckel has over 27 years in the local magazine publishing industry and has a passion for high-end photography and quality graphics. Her commitment to quality, visual simplicity, and beauty are strongly reflected in her beautiful Lake Society magazine.
Then I would say this was advice that actually Brad Levitt gave me from AFT Construction, and I've done it. Well, I've done it probably 5 or 6 times, and I'm going to change it a little bit. But his core message was super impactful for me. And his comment was, "Is you're building a house for several years, and we get so used to meeting on the job site, meeting at our office, meeting, 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 meeting. But what about just a timeout in the middle to go have a meaningful meal together? Don't even talk about the house if you don't want to. It likely will come up, but just share a meal together. I think it's a great, bonding experience just for your team. So it'd be the project managers, husband and wives can obviously come depending on who wants to be there. And you just have a sit down. We did one last year, right around maybe a month before Christmas. And it was great. We had two project managers, our project coordinator, we had the clients, we had the designers. It was a pretty big meal on that particular one. We had 10, 12 people, and the clients talked about it for about 3, 4 months after. They loved it. Now, for me personally, with young kids, night times tend to be pretty tough. And I know Mrs. Williams is not a big fan of that. So I think I'm going to be switching that to brunch or lunch because it's something I can control in the middle of the day. And so I'm going to try that going forward here, that if I'm on a multi-year project, maybe once every 6 months, I'll just ask the client if they want to go have a cup of coffee, or, I love breakfast burritos for whatever reason. So maybe I'll take in my favorite breakfast spot, sit down with a team and just have a meal together. I think that is it just also demonstrates we're all human. We all have lives. And I think the best projects looking back are the ones where things have really been humanized. When you realize that, you have a hardworking team trying to build an amazing home or amazing remodel for the client, and the client also sees that as well. Plus, it allows you just to understand like what's going on in their lives. So I don't see any downside to this. It's really, really, it's also very meaningful. And I look back at in past years of times that we've done this, or we've even done at the end of a job. We could talk a little bit about this, but it has to do with meals. So I'll bring it up now, where a client threw us a thank you party, and they brought a food truck and they brought the whole team. It was really gracious of them. They brought, I think we had 30, 40 people, landscape electricians. They just wanted to say thank you to everybody that had helped. That's actually only happened once. And that was a beautiful client and such an amazing time. And I look back at that very fondly of what a wonderful thing that was, and how appreciative that client was of the team that had helped her. And that was just beautiful. I wish more clients, it's not like I can suggest that to my client, like, by the way, if you have a great build, we'd really appreciate you throwing us a party. Because we actually, earlier in my career, I switched this around. I used to, when people were done, I would say, 2 months after they were in, I would ask them if we could host a party at their home. And I did it for two reasons. I heard this actually, this was how a real estate agent early in her career, that started her career, and how she broadened her network. But she would, put on the dinner, she'd cater the meal. And then the homeowner could invite, 15, 20 of their friends, and the builder could invite, one or two of maybe their prospects or someone on their team, and you just have a meal at their home. And that was great. I would still be very much open to that. It's very personal, and I love that. For whatever reason, the last 6 or 7 years, I've brought it up to a number of clients, and I've never had a client say yes to it, other than the one who threw us the party. And I think just people have gotten so busy that I don't think they want to do it. And so I want to respect that. So maybe wherever you're building across the United States, maybe this is something that would be more approachable for you. I did really enjoy it. I've met some future clients at some of these, and also it's just not everything has to be about business. It was also just a really nice gesture from our team to theirs. Let's make a meal. Let's bring in a meal in the home that we helped create for you and share it together. I think it's just a nice personal touch if you can do it. Another client experience pathway milestone for me is probably towards the end. People are starting to get, they're tired, they're excited to either they're really excited to move into their house, or they're really tired of the process and they want to move into their house. Either way, they want to be in their house. So I think knowing, I've talked about this previously as well, that making sure that your punch list and your move-in date are well aligned, so they're not at odds with each other. This has taken me a long time to understand, unfortunately, and I'm only now currently in my contracts do I have it written this way, where I need 30 days from the time that we do our final walkthrough, and I won't do our final walkthrough till we have the certificate of occupancy from the city, so the CO, which normally it seems like the homeowners would like to move in like the next day. But it's written in my contract. So this goes back to clear communication. I've told them a year, 2 years ahead of time. So they're not really bringing it up. It's been on the schedule. It says it right in Builder Trend, 30-day buffer. Like they've known about this date forever. And the reason I know that this is a better way than what we've done before is inevitably the way we used to do it is we would do our punch list. We would have 5 days to we do it on a Monday, and they would move in on a Friday afternoon. Well, 4.5 days is just not enough time to do whatever's on this punch list, clean the house, have it staged, have it ready, and for them to have a successful move in on Friday. So then what happens is you're not quite done. They move into the house. They feel dissatisfied because they were rushed to get in. They've obviously had an exhausting weekend. They've probably noticed 15, 20 things that they wish could have been done or new things, or maybe they dinged up the walls. And then it goes on another list. And then here's the real kicker. Now they're in the home. Getting our trade partners to work on a client's home while they live in it, plus navigate to their schedule. Some homeowners are more open to letting people come in than others is honestly, you'd have better luck winning the lottery. It is really tough. So we had another builder on a previous episode. Sven Gustafson from Stonewood said, you could probably add 4 to 6 months to your project. I believe that. We had one last year, good personal friend of mine. She had some extenuating circumstances and we let her move in, quote, early. And we were unhappy. She was unhappy. We're a year later, and now her punch list has really just morphed into her 1 year callback list. And so I wish I had known this information ahead of time because I think she would have been much happier waiting 30 days. And so I think as builders, as remodelers, as people in charge of our clients' experience, sometimes it's hard to say no that first time and disappoint them. But kind of my new line is I'd rather disappoint you once than disappoint you 100 times. And so all we can do is learn and from other builders. That's what I've learned from. I've learned this firsthand, and so now going forward, I'm really excited to see. We're actually coming up on our first 30-day full punch list here this October. So I'm sure I'll talk about it on the podcast. I'm really excited about it. Then at the end, so the client now has moved in. Maybe we've done a closing gift. I like to do something pretty personal. I think this is hard. Sometimes you like, to I've given gifts that reflect something about me personally, and then it's sentimental. And I give it to them. Sometimes I try to give them, something that I think I've heard them talk about during, the build. We had a client where she was really into, she loved her family and she wanted a watercolor. So I actually, the interior designer had come to me about 6 months before the end, and she said, "Would you go in with me on this gift? We have a portrait of their family, and we'd like to hire this watercolor artist to give this to them as a gift." It was very expensive, but it was such a meaningful token of our appreciation of this client. And oddly enough, this was the same client that, threw us a party at the end. So the love went both ways for sure. And so anyway, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture like that. It could be something, simple. I've given clients during the build, I've given them massage tickets to, or not tickets, bookings or a coupon, sorry, for like a local, spa. Go take a day to relax and get a massage. Who doesn't like a good massage? And so things like that. Find something that is meaningful to you and find a way to give it to them that shows that you care about them, that you're thoughtful. Could be something to do with their kids. Maybe one of their kids is on a sports team. Maybe you donate to, their sports team. I remember another builder used to make really highly colored shirts, and he would give them to the client's kids. And my little kids are constantly wearing little Mark Williams custom home shirts running around the house. That's like their nighty shirts. And then as I became a parent, I saw this. I'm like, wow, that was a genius move by that builder, because the parents often won't wear t-shirts, but then again, they didn't have harnish workwear making their t-shirts. Shout out to them. But so the little kids would be running around with their branded logo and their their sports teams, things like that. So I think look for opportunities to show your clients that you care. I think also, um, whether it's I've sent my ticket, or I've sent my clients, we have season tickets to the Wild, local hockey team here in Minnesota. So sometimes I'll take them to a game, or sometimes you don't have to go with them. Sometimes, not that you don't want to, but sometimes it's more meaningful if you have a family of four, send their family to a game or an experience. And I know that I've had people trying to get our business before, and again, just because I'm busy at nights with small children, I have found that the most meaningful gifts are people that have really known that I have small kids, I've gotten like Disney on Ice tickets. I've gotten, little kid festival things. And I'm like, I actually go because it's something I can bring all my kids to. My lawyer, Steve Yock, his wife started the Aurora or helped start the Aurora girls soccer team here in Minnesota. And every year, I take all the kids to the girls soccer game. My oldest is a daughter, and plus it's just a great atmosphere. And so that's really thoughtful of Steve to do that. And I just think it shows how you care about other people. I think also maybe towards this client experience thing, like, you're going to have holidays. If you're building for 2-3 years, understanding that people are going to have vacations, people are going to have birthdays, people are going to have, they need some time. And sometimes you need a break from the project. So usually during Christmas and during the month of the 4th of July, the beginning of July, we'll give our team a week off on both of those. And we let our clients know ahead of time so that they're not stressed about it. But we also want them to know, like, hey, if you're on vacation, we're not going to bother you. Like, you need a chance to decompress and, get away from all the decision making, if you will. And so does our team too. And I think when you are humanizing what you're doing, it does make them more bonded to you. And again, this is not some ploy it's just a way of communicating to the client so that their experience is a positive one, letting them know ahead of time. And then I think just be organized, have a clear line of communication. Whether we often give our clients an intake form. Do they like to be communicated via email, phone? I don't actually put text as an option. So it's pretty much in person, email, or phone, or virtual. I guess now we have some clients that prefer virtual, but texting is not one of the options that I give the clients. And part of the reason is it's my own bias against texting. I'm fine with texting, say like, hey, I'm going to be late to a meeting, or hey, you're on the job site and you send them a cool video or a cool photo, because our phones now are amazing at video. But I don't want, both for their sake and for our sake, if they're working, I don't want to be bothering them via texting and the dinging all the time. Like, I can send them an email and I can respect whatever boundary they have in place. And then by doing so, they hopefully will reflect that back to us as well. And I've had a few clients over the years that have not been able to respect, kind of a no texting. And that's a real problem. And you remind them over and over and over again that this is just not how you communicate as a business. We actually have it written right in our contract. We're happy to announce that on August 1st, Mark Williams Custom Homes and the Joy Collaborative are holding a charitable event at one of our past builds on Medicine Lake. If you're interested in raising money to help out children with disabilities, there's over 66,000 kids in need in Minnesota alone. We'd love for you to attend. Details can be found on our website, thecuriousbuilderpodcast.com, or any of our social channels. We hope to see you there. Additionally, if you want to hear more about the Joy Collaborative, please listen to episode 34 on the Curious Builder podcast. We're excited to announce that we've opened up another Curious Collective. For the last year, we've had the Curious Builder Collective. We now have the Curious Builder Collective for designers. The first ones will be happening in September. All the details are going to be on our website. We have 30 spots available. Half of them have already filled. We additionally have 8 spots left in the Builder Collective. If you're interested in getting together in small groups of 9 with local Minneapolis-based builders and designers in separate groups, and talking about your business, talking about your brands, asking those questions that you wish you could ask another business owner, then this is the place for you. Details can be found at thecuriousbuilderpodcast.com. And so I guess this goes back to the main point that I'm trying to bring up here. Just clear expectations with your clients. I think of, some wonderful restaurants. I mean, you see the menu, they almost tell you what's going to happen. The maitre d' sits you down at the table. They give you a little welcome gift. So anyway, I'm still not done with creating this path. I think this is a phenomenal question. And anyway, hopefully there's something in here that you can apply to your business. We'll see you next week for Q&A. Thanks for listening to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like what you listen to, please give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It really means a lot. It's a great way for us to just understand what you like about the podcast and what we can keep doing. So like and review, and please share with your friends and family. Find out more at CuriousBuilderPodcast.com.